You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is October 25th, 2021. Well, when it comes to investing, it is a veritable minefield out there. And, some people have said resource investing is the most dangerous investing of all. But where wise men fear to go, fools dare to travel. Often the case, but other wise men can travel those areas and find things because they're disfavored, they're not understood, low information, and come across a channel on YouTube, and the website, and track it down, is MicroCapExplosions.com. I have Mariusz on with me now, the proprietor of the site. It's great to have you on. So we were talking pre-call, and you said you like the venture exchange, not so much for looking for mining stocks where many of them find a home, and it hasn't been a pleasant home up until the past couple of weeks when the price of precious metals have perked up again. But you're finding other stocks, value plays there. It's interesting. You can't really find value on the broader markets, the broader exchanges. Too much knowledge, they're fully priced. But when you go to these lesser exchanges, it seems like value abounds there.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Kerry. Yeah, so it comes down to one concept, really. It's competition in anything in life. Yeah, like, let's take a look at, sports, soccer or basketball. You can work very, very hard, but you have so much elite competition that your hard work might turn into nothing, really. And the same thing is with the big exchanges, NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange. Everybody is paying attention to these exchanges. Those companies have lots of analysts covering them. Lots of investors go there. So simply from that point of view, you have a lot of competition. I prefer to go into places where the odds are in my favor. I prefer to go into places where there is very little competition, and those places are the secondary exchanges, such as OTC markets or TSX Venture or Canadian Stock Exchange or AIM in London. You simply don't have a lot of people looking at these places, and when you are willing to roll up your sleeves and go through these companies one by one, you can find things that can be life-changing.
All right. So give us an example of something you found in the past that turned out to be like the opportunity of a lifetime.
So that was actually recently, 5 years ago, and it was a mining stock, and it came from years of unsuccess, lack of success in the mining space. But that experience or that journey led me to discover a company called Oracle Resource, which has a project called Santa Tomas. It's a copper project in Mexico. So when I discovered it in 2017, it was because they did a transaction with another junior miner, and they sold a property called Cerro Prieto to another company. And I saw the press release, and I was invested in the other company, and I kind of started investigating this company, Oracle, that sold them this project. And what I learned was that those two companies actually shared the same office. And this is typical for the mining companies to save money. They share the same office. So to kind of keep, I established a relationship with Oracle because I wanted to keep an eye on the other company. And since they shared an office, I figured, I could learn some things that maybe are not widely available. And then over time, I started to learn more and more about Oracle. And what I learned is that they were involved in a legal battle over a title dispute over this Santa Tomas copper project, which was a massive copper deposit that was drilled like 20 years ago. And what happened in early 2000, when copper was in a terrible bear market, this property was sold to a crook, pretty much, by a Mexican owner. The Mexican owner sold the property to a crook, which never paid for the property. And this particular Mexican owner didn't have a way to get the property back. So the management of Oracle pretty much said to him, we will solve your legal battle. We will pay for all the legals. We will get you the property back. And in return, we will earn 50% interest in this property. And it took them literally like 10 or 15 years to solve this problem. In legal situations, they always should take a couple years, but they take decades. And so when I got involved with Oracle, they just won the legal battle, and it was in 3 different jurisdictions. It was in Bahamas, it was in the US, and it was in Mexico. So they won it in Bahamas, and they were just about to roll in their interest, the winning interest of Oracle of Santa Thomas into Oracle, because originally they were going to handle the legals, paying out of their own pocket, but then it took longer, and then they had to involve a public company to pay the legals, and which involved rolling the interest into the PubCo. And so it was, as this was just beginning to happen, I stumbled across, because I had a relationship, and I also saw that the CEO was buying a lot of shares at some point, and I studied the property, and I realized that it was a monster. It was even quoted in many geological books for students. So I knew this was a real property. And there was a website called santathomascopper.com where all of the legal documents were like listed on the website for people to view. So I studied all the legal documents. I see how this was progressing. And I determined that there was practically zero probability that they were going to lose the legal battle, like completely to the finish line, meaning they already won in Bahamas, but they had to finish their registration in Mexico, and there was another part of it in the US. There was like zero, and I ended up buying the stock for like 4 cents. The market cap at that time was only like $3 million. Fast forward to today, they ended up winning everything. The market cap is 500 million. I made almost 100 times of my money on this opportunity. So this is just an example of how nobody was paying attention to it, and it was very much a special situation. And those situations are out there, but you have to kind of roll up your sleeves and go and find them on your own, because nobody's going to show them to you. By the time somebody shows them to you, the price is a lot higher.
All right. So that's a great story. I've had similar ones. I was involved with a company called TiVo. They had a patent infringement case against a company called Dish Network. They got a multi-$100 million judgment against them. The Dish Network just kept digging the hole deeper and deeper, kept infringing all of this. And, you know, it was quite entertaining, actually, to watch. And, you know, I watched this thing transpire, and it was shocking. Eventually, TiVo went up 4 or 5 times. I put a pretty sizable bet on it for me then. And, you know, I didn't get a tenfold return, unfortunately, but I did pretty darn well. So in any event, those deals are out there. And so what's the first step to recognizing one of these deals that it might have value for you?
It's kind of like, I will refer to Warren Buffett. You start with an A and you finish on Z. You go through every company, you look at it on a particular exchange, and you turn over the rocks, and you see there is really no formula as to say, and people like formulas. People like computers to find them things, but there's no formula saying, oh, if you buy something that's trading at a 10 times PE, or if it has this kind of growth rate, or if it has this type of asset, you have to have an open mind. Just look at the situation and look at all the moving parts and see if it makes sense. Because it's if let's say you're shopping for real estate and you're interested in apartments, you will look at apartments in a different way than you will look at single family homes. or you might make some money by flipping a car, or buying a rack and fix it up. So it's kind of like have an open mind, look at the situation. You see, on those exchanges, if you are not interested in a particular sector, like let's say I'm not interested in mining, or let's say I'm not interested in pharmaceutical, well, then it's easy to just eliminate them and just go after the things that you are interested, narrow it down, and then with these small companies, you can get the management on the phone. You can get somebody to pick up the phone, and you when you call them, tell them, sell me on the opportunity. Tell me why I should be interested. Recently, that's exactly what I did with the Canadian exchange. There's like 700 companies listed on the Canadian exchange. I went through every single one, all 700. I narrowed it down to about 5, and I ended up investing in 2. And you look at the situation and you study it. Like, what are they doing? Why are they getting particular contracts, or what's going on? Why are they stealing market share from the competitors? Pick up the phone, ask them, and they'll tell you the story. And of course, don't just believe in everything they say, but they can cut you a lot of time just by telling you what's important. And then it's your time to do due diligence to make sure that they're telling you the truth. But that's pretty much what I do.
Okay. Can you share with us any you might be looking at now?
I'm not sharing individual names because it's not fair to my subscribers, but I can talk in generalities. So this particular company that I found, they have a software. They have software that helps the governmental agencies manage food and safety for restaurants. They have to be compliant and all that. So there is 2 players in this particular space, 2 big players that have most of the market share. And then there is this third one, which is trading on a small exchange that is just killing the competitors, like absolutely destroying them. I look at the press releases, and they are just taking clients from the competitors like on daily and weekly basis. So I wanted to know what is going on. Like, usually when you have governmental agencies, they don't go and do business with some small company.
They don't go shopping.
No, they don't go shopping. And especially when we're talking about a software service that your entire procedures are based on. The switching costs are huge. So in other words, if you just do a subpar job, you're going to keep the clients. And here you have a situation where the clients are leaving. So I tried to figure out like what's going on. So they. What happens is that the competitors are, this is just one particular business segment for the competitors. They have other verticals. And the competitors, the way they are run is like MBA people run them, meaning they care about profits, bottom line, returns on assets, returns on equity. And the way the competitors were put together was through acquisitions. So they don't develop their own products, they just acquire. This particular company, what they did about 5 years ago, they saw a change that was happening in the marketplace, and they acquired this technology. And it took them about 5 years to get this technology to a place where it was competitive. And about 2009, they released it and started reaching out to the marketplace. And this product was so superior to the competitors that simply everybody started switching. I mean, everybody, meaning everybody that like maybe their contract was coming to an end, started switching. And now it's just like a floodgate. And so here they are sitting, growing revenues, killing the competitors. It's going to continue. I got on the phone with several of the customers and I told them what is going on. And they pretty much told me from their customers' perspective how good this product is, why they are switching. And I discover it. Nobody knows about this company. Barely anybody is paying attention. The people in the US don't even know this exchange exists. So I can establish my position now and let the story play out, because at some point they're going to get so big that they're going to graduate from a secondary exchange and go on NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, because until they go to a better exchange, they're not going to get the respect or the valuation. Because let's face it, on those secondary exchanges, especially the ones that maybe cater to mining or pharma or oil and gas, people go to these exchanges for those kinds of opportunities or cannabis. So they are not going to embrace the kind of companies that have, software or technology or something like that. They're just simply not interested in those kinds of companies in generalities. So you have to, at some point, have a plan, be like, we have to go to an exchange that will respect or give us value for what we're doing, which is, of course, NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, which is exactly what's going to happen down the road. But, it might be 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
But for that kind of return, it's certainly worth holding on. And how many of these opportunities are out there, do you guesstimate, just off the top of your head? Are we talking a handful, 4, 5, 6, or dozens of them?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Goldterra Resource Corp is a gold exploration company that has assembled a highly prospective district-scale land position on the doorstep of the city of Yellowknife in Canada's Northwest Territories. Goldterra is currently focused on expanding and delineating gold resources at the company's Yellowknife City Gold Project, with a goal of discovering over 5 million ounces. With ready access to infrastructure and multiple high-grade gold discoveries, Goldterra is on track to re-establishing Yellowknife as one of the premier gold mining districts in Canada. Goldterra trades as YGT in Toronto and YGTFF on the OTC. For more information, go to goldterracorp.com. That's goldterracorp.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network. The information you need to thrive. Now more than ever.
I would say between 10 to 20 I could find. Right now on my website, we have about 12 of these listed. Look, if I wanted to, and here's another thing that investors miss, I can find you a great story and great opportunity every week. I can come up with something and sell you. But that's not the point. The point is that the success in investing is to find good opportunities, and you have to let those things play out. If I tell you about a great story every week, what are you going to do? You're going to keep switching your portfolio, and at the end of the day, you're not going to get those multi-bagger returns. Multi-bagger returns, you have to, as Charlie Munger would say, you have to sit on your ass and do nothing. And that's the hardest thing to do for smart people. People in finance, I consider them above average people, smart people. They have money. So that means they made the money somehow. Maybe they had a successful business or this or that. Those kinds of people tend to be people that like to be active. And in investing, you have to do the opposite. You have to do a lot of sitting. And I tell my subscribers all the time, if you can't sit, find yourself a hobby. Go and volunteer. Just get away from the screen and just let those multi-baggers play out. And it will take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, it just reminds me of a guy I knew. One of the inventors of day trading, as he called it then, direct trading. And his name was Harvey Hopkins, and he uncovered this stock, Sportsman's Guide, and he was buying millions of shares at it at 28 cents. Within 18 months, it was trading at $30. And I don't know what happened, if they were bought out or what, during the ammo shortage of 08 and 09, and basically a club for buying hunting gear. And the company just took off to the stratosphere. And then I don't know if they still exist or not, what happened to them. But that's one that, he knew the management, knew everything about the company that there was to know. And it was one of those undervalued plays that probably a couple of months before it took off, people would laugh at you saying, Sportsman's what? So I know they're out there. And so it has to start with an idea, though, right? Where does the idea come from? How do you
let me just ask you one thing here. Have you heard of a company called Exfil?
Exfil?
Exfil. They provide paint protection on your car. So if you buy an expensive car, you can put like the vinyl sheet over your paint.
Wrapping, yeah.
Wrapping. So this was a company that I actually wrote in my book, that how to profit from the coronavirus recession. And it was another successful story. I didn't have as much money in it as Oracle, but the stock within I think 7 years went from like 10 cents. Today it's sitting at $70, and it was an incredible story, because you see, they started off as a software company where they were selling patterns for cars for the paint protection. So they had this huge database of all these patterns, and then they went into providing paint protection for the vehicles, and that was a huge competitive advantage, because if you have all these patterns, and if you're a auto detailing shop, you're going to buy from them because they're also providing you with a pattern. So you don't have to like sit there and cut the paint. The pattern is already provided to you with a particular vehicle. And then the actual paint, the actual film protection, it costs about $5,000 to put it on your car. The actual paint doesn't cost that much. The most expensive part is the labor, somebody, putting it on. So from the point of view of a paint shop, they don't care. They're not price sensitive as to how much they're spending the money on the actual film. It doesn't matter if they pay $200, $300, $400. What matters to them is if they have a pattern, then it cuts the amount of time that they have to pay somebody to apply it. So they had this huge moat, and they were signing up all these distributors, all these trim paint protection shops, and they just kept growing and growing and growing. And it was this idea was introduced in the MicroCap community first, which is kind of like an underground community in a way. And those who understood the business, they understood the dynamics, they understood the competitive advantage, made tremendous amounts of money over the 7 years.
Interesting. And of course,
sorry, I just kind of straight away go ahead to the question that you were asking me.
Yeah, so thousands. So where does the idea begin? Did people bring these stocks to your attention, or you're just screening and something hits you about the company?
I personally, in the past, I just don't have much success when people bring me the ideas. I don't know why, but anytime somebody tells me about an idea, it turns into nothing. But when I find the idea myself, then it turns into something. I don't know why. Maybe it's a coincidence, but the way I like to find ideas is go on a particular exchange, whether it's TSXV or Canadian or OTC, and go through every company one by one. So I did that for the book that I wrote, How to Profit from the Coronavirus Recession. It was, I knew that Oracle was going to work out for me. So 2 years prior, what I did, I went through 6,000 companies one by one: OTC, Canadian Stock Exchange, TSX Venture, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ. And from that list, I narrowed down to like 200 that would interest me no matter what. And then when coronavirus hit, like everything sold off. So I had so many things to pick from. And that's how the book was born. That's how MicroCap Explosions was born, because I had all these ideas. But going back again to your question, is the best way for me is not to screen, not to use any financial metrics. I just want to go one company at a time, because this particular one that I mentioned to you about the software for the healthcare, you would never find this company if you were searching for this particular growth rate or this particular bottom line or those kinds of margins or whatever. But by going by one, what I can do is I can figure out what the revenues or what the growth is going to be in the future by understanding what it is that the company is doing now. So I'm kind of like recreating the financial statements for the future before the computers can see it.
So there's no algorithm that's going to pick these things up then, in other words?
Not right now, but in 2 to 3 years, when the revenue growth shows up. You see, another thing about revenue growth is that people like to say, oh, revenue growth, plug in 20% or 30%, whatever it is, number that they want. I always ask is like, why? Why is the company going to grow 30%? Like, what is behind it that's going to make it grow? Like, that's what I try to figure out. Why are the customers buying? Why are the customers switching? What kind of problems does this product or service solves? That's what I want to know. Because when I know the whys, then I can figure out, oh, okay, it's going to grow. But I'm not just going to say it's going to grow 20% because that's what it did the last 2 years.
That's extrapolation. And you know, that's the problem, is that Wall Street's a bunch of extrapolators. They don't have any original thoughts in their heads. All they do is project out a growth rate and assume that it's going to continue. Now, granted, some companies, maybe for the past 20 years, have achieved that growth rate, and then you're entitled perhaps to extrapolate until something comes along that either accelerates growth or decelerates it. But for the most part, when you're dealing with smaller companies, you can't really predict a growth rate, can you?
Sometimes you can. It just depends on a business, right? But just like you said, extrapolating into the future, that's a best way to get into trouble without understanding. I mean, in the microcap space, small cap space, what I see people make mistakes is that they simply they might talk to the management, but that's it. They just take the management's words for it, and I would say that's the starting point.
So you're kind of like a little bit of Peter Lynch in there. Take a walk down the mall. So you actually not dealing with retail, obviously, but you actually go look at what the company's doing, actually check their products, and talk to the management.
Oh, well, talking to the management is just one thing. I use I don't know if it's Peter Lynch or someone else termed as scuttlebutt research. And scuttlebutt research is learning about a company by interacting with people that are involved with the company. So if you look at who are the people, clients, suppliers, directors, employees, former employees, I get on the phone and I talk to these people. I love to talk to the former employees because they'll tell you the dirt that would never tell you when they worked at the company. I talk to the customers because I want to know why they're buying the product. And a lot of times you might talk to the customers that are former customers. Those are the best too. Then you try to figure out, well, why did you leave them? What was the problem? You can talk to the directors, but don't just talk to the directors that are there. Talk to the directors that were former directors. And you can find out from old financial reporting who the directors were 5 years ago. Ask them, are they going to call you back? Ask them why they're not directors anymore.
Yeah.
By talking with these people, you learn so much. And it's not that you're looking for a perfect company, because there is no such thing as a perfect company. But I want to know what it is that I'm getting myself into. And then I can, make a judgment. But just by reading the company's website and talking to the CEO, it's great, but it's like buying a product by looking at a commercial.
Understood. Well, it's fascinating conversation here, Mariusz. People want to find out more about you, subscribe to your site. Where do you go?
I would say go to microcapexplosions.com. When you go there, you will find a link to my YouTube channel. You will find a link to my books. I wrote 10 books, and you will find a link to my YouTube channel. And of course, you can also subscribe to MicroCap Explosions if you wish to. But by going to MicroCap Explosions, it's probably the easiest way. You can also, I wrote a book that you can download for free, MicroCap Investor. It's linked on the website. You don't even have to give me an email. I don't really do any of those marketing tricks or to get you to give me your email. I'm not saying I won't do in the future, but right now you can get the book for free. So microcapexplosions.com.
All right, excellent. And if you got a question for Mariusz, shoot me an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. And don't forget, go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Sign up for your free newsletter. Mariusz, been very enlightening, and we'll definitely talk to you again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.